name's Ticket. If you're seeing this, you probably came from my TikTok, so I won't bore you guys with an introduction. I'd say let's just get right into it. This is just a little tidbit for those that don't know where Danny's World is. It's a survival horror game of Roblox that revolves around you playing as these cartoon characters known as toons that go through a series of floors which increase in difficulty the higher the floor gets. It's a mix of games like Dead by Daylight and Identity V, making you complete a certain amount of machines each floor before you can move on to the next. The killers or hunters in this game aren't played by other players, they're NPCs known as Twisteds, which are more or less just evil versions of the toons. The more you progress, the more ichor you get, which is the game's currency. First on the list we have Sebastian. I made him not too long ago. I have a short speed paint of him up on my TikTok. I originally went into his design a bit blind. I only knew that I wanted him to be bad, and that was about it. His design is for sure the simplest out of all of my TNOCs, but I absolutely love him. I did make some minor changes from his original design, mostly just adding chest tufts to make him appear more fluffy. I like to imagine he's a bit of a grump most of the time. I mean, he usually has a smirk on his face, but he's pretty easily annoyed. He isn't mean like Shrimpo, but my idea for him is that he wants to be seen as this really scary toon, but he just isn't. I imagine he definitely has a soft spot for some other toons. I'm just not sure who he would get along with best, where their personalities wouldn't clash. I do, however, have this cute little idea in my head of him talking to Toodles and just being a grump, and she just goes, "Oh, I think you're pretty scary, super scary," and he just gives her a pat on the head as like a thanks kid. Although I might just be a sucker for sibling kind of relationships where they're not biological siblings, but they kind of act like it, so I think that's kind of where I got that from. Although it would definitely suck that since he is technically a seasonal toon, they wouldn't really see each other much, which is really sad to think about. Also, I do apologize if my audio doesn't sound that great. This is my first time doing a voiceover, and I've trying to fiddle around with the settings a bit to make it sound more clear. I don't really have a good mic, but I'm just kind of hoping it all works out. I think in the future I'll definitely draw more art for all of my TNOCs where they're interacting with the other cast of toons from the game. But for now, this is pretty much him. I love how he came out in the end. I think they all look really good in the end after they were all rendered and finished. Next up we have Christo, which, if you haven't noticed, I tried to pick background music that fit each toon. I think it's just something I like doing for all of my OCs, regardless of what they are or where they're from. I find giving them background music just makes me feel more connected to them, or just music themes in general. I originally made Christo about 2 issues ago when I was first introduced to Danny's World by a friend of mine, and I became slightly addicted before my hyperfixation stopped and I neglected playing the game through the Christmas update back then, only to have start playing it religiously for the past month or 2. While I don't want to change the design, which I didn't change it here, I will definitely rework his abilities because, oh my god, he is busted. I don't know what went through my head when I made them. I don't think they're bad. They're just they're really cool abilities, but the cooldowns and percentages absolutely need some adjusting. He is probably the only toon I have more of an idea of what their backstory is. His whole thing is that he kind of reads people's futures. We can get glimpses into their future, but they're kind of blurred, so it's hard for him to describe what he sees. My idea was that Dandy kind of took advantage of Christo before he started the whole ichor extraction business, which, by the way, I thought it was pronounced Ichor, not Ichor, but it's whatever. Anyway, Christo kind of helped Dandy by trying to see into the future for him and what would become a garden view, and his vision was correct. The tunes were abandoned, and while Christo thought he would still be helping Dandy as his kind of right-hand man, after Dandy started up the Icar production, he just kind of abandoned Christo, leaving him to venture through the floors and do the dirty work with the rest of the tunes. Even if he still did work with Dandy, I feel like he probably still would have felt horrible for feeling like he abandoned the other tunes. But because he kind of spent most of his time with Dandy anyway, he's not really close with anyone. He just kind of feels that, like, protective instinct, and I feel like all the tunes are kind of like their own family in a way. So by that point, you're just abandoning your family, I guess. No one really knows what went on behind the scenes between Christo and Danny, so they still treat him normal. But what happens still constantly eats away at Christo. Although after years have passed by, his original sadness has kind of just turned into pure disdain and hatred for Dandy and slight spite towards Dial. Not that the two of them interacted much, he just kind of feels like he was replaced. We're on to one of the new tunes I'm adding to my growing collection. This is Toto. I don't have a reference sheet for her. What you're seeing is my entire design process for her character. To be completely honest, for both her and Beatrix, who you'll see after Toto, I came up with them while on the bus to work. It just kind of popped into my head because I really want to draw more tunes. Toto is a Tamagotchi, which I'm pretty sure is trademarked, so let's just say she is a pocket pet game device. She's kind of just everything I like slapped into a tune. She's pink, very cutesy, and has a lot of pastel patterns, so I am absolutely biased and will say she is one of my favorites design-wise. I did jump around a little bit when it came to her colors and what I wanted them to be. I did look up pictures of Tamagotchi designs as far as references for what I wanted her to look like. I'll post some pictures of the ones I found that are more or less what inspired her design. Personality-wise, she is a very sweet and just genuinely a pretty caring toon. It's hard for her to voice her dislike towards anyone. She's just normally pretty passive. This was actually my second redrawing of her. I have the old recording, but I hated how she turned out and really wanted to change her pose, so I redid the entire thing, and that's what you're seeing now. I don't think there's anyone she wouldn't get along with aside from Shrimpo, but she kind of just ignores what he says and tries to offer her friendship to him anyway. Two of her closest friends, I imagine, are probably Beatrix and Goob. With Beatrix, I think Toto and her kind of have like a sisterly bond, despite still being around the same age. And with Goob, I think she just likes hanging out with him because he's pretty nice to her, and he's kind of got that heart of gold, despite being a little daft sometimes. I truthfully don't have too much written down for her in terms of what else I think she would be like. This is pretty much her. I'll probably end up writing more about her later on. Same with Beatrix. I think I do at some point want to make proper reference sheets for them and what their abilities would be at some point. But that's gonna be for another video and another post. on to the last student. You've heard me say her name a few times already, but this is Beatrix. I also made her completely from scratch for this video. Between her and Toto, I had an easier time deciding what I wanted her to look like until I did her face, and you'll see why in a second. I wanted her to exude big sister energy without making her seem like your typical rude older sibling. At first, she was going to have this super excitable personality before I scrapped that idea and went back to a more laid-back personality for her that I kind of had sitting at the back of my head. If it wasn't obvious by her object that she's based on, her whole thing is music. She loves music. She loves listening to music, playing music, making music. I think at some point I'll make some of her music themed tune, which actually here is some minor spoilers. I do plan on giving Christo a younger sibling, and he is going to be a disco ball. So creatively I named him Disco. Which, I mean, it works. It rhymes with Christo. And if it wasn't obvious, him and Beatrix are going to be besties, because why wouldn't they be? For her design itself, I took a lot of inspo from 90s boomboxes and patterns, which I absolutely love the kind of arcade design I chose for her sweater. I think it suits her so well. I honestly don't think I could be happier with how all of them turned out, especially after they were all fully rendered. I absolutely love this piece. I think it was just really fun to make. It was a nice breath of fresh air for me after having art block for so long and feeling like,
oh my god, what's that? Is that hyperpigmentation?
I needed to do something that was really serious and had so much effort put into it. Which, don't get me wrong, these ones definitely had a bit of effort that had to go into them, but I think because they're tunes, it kind of just makes it feel less daunting of a task for me to finally get them down on quote-unquote paper. This video honestly took so much longer to make than I thought it would. I have a newfound appreciation for content creators, especially those that don't really have a team of people to help them get content out. To be fair, I didn't plan ahead for a lot of this stuff, so a lot of the assets that I made were all created at 2 AM on a weekday, on a whim. There's already so much stuff that I know I can improve on when it comes to video planning, editing, recording, and remembering to properly cut out my Discord overlay that I'm sure someone will mention. I'm gonna pretend it's an Easter egg for you all to find. I do hope this has inspired some of you to make your own Dandy's World OCs, or maybe you already have some of your own. I would absolutely love to see them. If you want to show me them, feel free to post a picture of them to your BlueSky or TikTok and at me. I'll have both my pages linked in the description. And also up on screen, of course. Regardless, I present to you all my Dandy's World OCs. I can't properly express just how much I love this piece, and I'm so excited to post it after I get this video up. Please, please, please let me know who your favorite is in the comments below. I can't guarantee I'll continue to post long-form content like this, but it was a lot more fun than I was expecting, watching everything kind of slowly come to life. That being said, this is Ticket signing off, and I will see you all in the next one. I need to think of a better outro.